Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Join us as we explore the tools and insights you need to jumpstart your financial journey. The U.S. Fed is in focus for the week. The U.S. Federal Reserve is expected to continue monetary easing with a 25 basis point rate cut on Wednesday. That would be its third straight reduction. Investors will be looking to Fed Chair Jerome Powell for any insight about his expectations for future easing. The pendulum of Bank of Japan policy expectations has swung widely in the last 2 weeks as traders are uncertain on their next move ahead of the December 19 U.S. rate decision. Analysts note it would be very rare for the Fed not to cut the benchmark when market conviction for the cut is so strong. Traders expect the Bank of England to hold rates at 4.75% on Thursday. Employer tax hikes in the Labor government's October budget motivated big businesses to warn of price rises that fueled inflation concerns and helped propel the sterling to 2.5-year highs against the euro. UK employment growth is slowing as tax rises deter hiring plans and consumer confidence is weak. Sterling bulls are expected to watch out for the BOE shifting gears. Once robust services sectors across big economies are faltering, bring a divergence with sluggish manufacturing activity to an end. That was a takeaway from the November PMIs. The monthly gross domestic product of the UK fell by 0.1% month-on-month in October, attributed to the decline in production output in UK's manufacturing and mining industries last month. UK Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves said that the figures this month were disappointing, while the government has put in place policies to deliver long-term economic growth. Meanwhile, December numbers out across the globe next week should show if the slowdown is getting deeper. The U.S. Treasury has informed Japan's Nippon Steel that the panel reviewing its proposed $14.9 billion purchase of U.S. Steel has not yet come to an agreement on how to address security concerns. The Financial Times reports the Treasury, which leads the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S., wrote to both companies on Saturday, saying the 9 agencies on the panel were struggling to reach a consensus ahead of the deadline to submit a recommendation to outgoing President Joe Biden. Powerful committee charged with reviewing foreign investments in U.S. firms for national security risks has until December 22 to make a decision on whether to approve, block, or extend the timeline for the deal's review. CFIUs told the 2 companies in September that the deal would create national security risks because it could hurt the supply of steel needed for critical transportation, construction, and agricultural projects. Biden and his incoming successor, Donald Trump, publicly indicated their intentions to block the purchase. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told Reuters on Friday that the U.S. is looking at further sanctions on dark fleet tankers and will not rule out sanctions on Chinese banks as it seeks to reduce Russia's oil revenue and access to foreign supplies to fuel its war in Ukraine. U.S. Treasury officials continue to have conversations with their Chinese counterparts on efforts to detect financial institution activity that could be aiding transactions related to Russia's war effort. Yellen said these discussions have been aided by efforts to rebuild U.S.-China economic and financial communications over the past 2 years. Yellen also said in an interview that the U.S. and its allies also could consider lowering their $60 per barrel oil price cap on Russian oil, which prohibits Western insurance and maritime services on cargoes above that level. The Treasury has already sanctioned individual tankers and their owners for operating above the price cap and can do more in this area. Yellen suggested additional measures in the 5 weeks before she leaves office. TikTok must now move quickly with a request to the Supreme Court to block or overturn a law that would require its Chinese parent ByteDance to divest of the short video app by January 19. That's after an appeals court rejected a bid for more time. TikTok and ByteDance on Monday had filed the emergency motion with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, asking for more time to make their case to the U.S. Supreme Court. But the court rejected their bid, and the company plans now to take the case to the High Court. The decision, unless the High Court reverses it, puts TikTok's fate first in the hands of Democratic President Joe Biden on whether to grant a 90-day extension of the deadline to force a sale, and then of Republican President-elect Donald Trump, who takes office on January 20th. Trump, who unsuccessfully tried to ban TikTok during his first term in 2020, said before the November presidential election he would not allow the ban on TikTok. Meanwhile, the chair and top Democrat on the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on China told the CEOs of Google parent Alphabet and Apple that they must be ready to remove TikTok from their U.S. app stores on January 19. Meanwhile, Donald Trump hosted Apple CEO Tim Cook for a Friday evening dinner at the president-elect's Mar-a-Lago resort. Cook is the latest in a string of big tech leaders, including OpenAI's Sam Altman, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, and Amazon's Jeff Bezos, who have sought to improve their standing with the incoming president after choppy relations with Trump during his first term. Trump has said he has spoken with Cook about the company's long-running tax battles with the European Union. The meeting comes less than 2 months after Trump said he spoke to Cook by phone, and soon after, Apple lost its last appeal in a dispute with the EU over $14.34 billion in back taxes in Ireland. Meanwhile, OpenAI CEO Altman is planning to make a $1 million personal donation to Trump's inauguration fund. Amazon and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, confirmed they each had donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural budget. Apple's new vision for the future of computing is a giant, iPad-like foldable device. Apple's designers are developing something akin to a giant iPad that unfolds into the size of 2 iPad Pros side by side. The Cupertino, California-based company has been honing the product for a couple of years now. Its goal for a foldable device is to avoid the crease that current products have when they're in an open position. Apple is aiming to bring something of the sort to the market around 2028. Meanwhile, it seems not all is well in the bromance between billionaire Elon Musk and President-elect Trump. Elon Musk says the Securities and Exchange Commission wants him to pay a penalty or face charges involving what he disclosed or failed to disclose about his purchases of Twitter stock before he bought the social media platform in 2022. In a letter posted by Musk on the platform now called X, his lawyer Alex Spiro tells the outgoing SEC Chairman Gary Gensler that the Commission's demand for a monetary payment is a misguided scheme that won't intimidate Musk. The letter also alleges that the Commission reopened an investigation this week into Neuralink, Musk's computer-to-human brain interface company. The lawsuit alleges that it hurt, or Musk's transaction hurt ordinary investors who sold shares in the San Francisco company in the nearly 2 weeks before Musk acknowledged that he held a major stake in Twitter. Eventually, the disclosure of Musk's stake in X caused the value of its shares to soar 27% from its April 2023 close to nearly $50 by the end of trading the next day. That improper delay, according to the lawsuit, deprived investors who had sold shares before Musk's stake in the company was publicly known of the opportunity to realize significant gains. ABC News has agreed to give $15 million to U.S. President-elect Trump's presidential library to settle a lawsuit over comments that anchor George Stephanopoulos made on air. A court document filed on Saturday showed it involved a civil case brought against Trump by writer E. Jean Carroll. The lawsuit cites a March 10 interview with U.S. Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican who has spoken publicly about being raped as a teenager. During the interview, Stephanopoulos, shown on camera right now, said that Trump was found liable for rape and asked her how she could endorse the candidate. The lawsuit, filed on March 19 in Florida, accused Stephanopoulos of making the statements with malice and a disregard for the truth. It said the statements were distributed widely to third parties and repeated. We're taking a breather. Business and economy news from around the country in a moment. Stay on BNC and follow the money.
I think that Filipino furniture style has always been around. It's always, in style and on trend. But I also like how the Philippine furniture now has had a resurgence. Or when I say resurgence, with more modernized shapes. Like, for example, I also like what another designer, Milo Naval, is doing. So he's making, sort of like still Filipino furniture, maintains the shape, but in a more modernized way. So bigger sizes and all that. So yeah.
Ito po si Father Nono.
Ako po si Father Fiel Pareha.
Ako si Risa Singson Kaupeng.
Kape at pandasal na po tayo. Ito po si Cardinal Chito Tagle.
Bawat anggulo ng bawat issue.
9 out of 10 Filipinos ang nais na mapanagot ang mga corrupt officials.
Bawat detalye ng mga napapanahong pangyayari.
September 23 nang simulan ng Israel ang air attacks sa Lebanon.
Tuloy-tuloy na ihahati hanggang Sabado at Linggo. Weekend Agenda. Sabado at Linggo, 5:30 p.m. sa BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Welcome back to Follow the Money. The Bitcoin surges to more than 3% to a record high above $106,000 in an early Asian trade Monday. The world's biggest and best-known cryptocurrency was boosted by comments from President-elect Donald Trump that suggested he plans to create a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve similar to a strategic oil reserve. When asked if he plans to build a crypto reserve similar to oil reserves, Trump told CNBC late last week that he believes so. Bitcoin hit a high of $106,533 per share and last traded at $105,688,000. Smaller crypto Ether also rose nearly 3% to $4,014 per coin. It rose above the $100,000 mark for the first time on December 5th. Bitcoin has more than doubled in value this year. South Korean shares rose for a fourth straight session last Friday on hopes that the political uncertainty would ease after the impeachment vote in Parliament, which followed a failed vote the week earlier. Democratic Party leaders Lee said the most pressing issue is a slump in consumption caused by insufficient domestic demand and the government's reduction of its fiscal role. South Korea's financial authorities vowed on Sunday to act as needed to stabilize markets, while the finance minister said he would announce an economic policy plan by year's end. But the impeachment lift proved short-lived as the benchmark Kospi index jumped as much as 0.9% in early trade today, putting it on track to erase all of its losses since the martial law move. But the South Korean won also wiped out gains that were spurred by Yoon's impeachment over the weekend. Britain becomes the first European nation to join a major Indo-Pacific trading bloc on Sunday. The UK officially became the 12th member of the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP. Many hope the membership will boost Britain's flagging economy by as much as $2.5 billion annually. The alliance comprises fellow G7 members Canada and Japan, plus long-standing allies Australia and New Zealand. It also includes Brunei, Chile, Malaysia, Mexico, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam. Created in 2018, it has been seen as a bulwark against Chinese dominance in the region. A global group is teaming up with the Philippines to boost infrastructure investments, focusing on energy. The Coalition for Emerging Market Infrastructure Investment launched its first ever country platform in the Philippines. The group, led by the Indo-Pacific Partnership for Prosperity, brings together governments, business leaders, and other partners to find ways to attract more investments in infrastructure. Special Assistant to the President Frederick Go and U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo were among the top officials at the event. Experts say the Philippines needs over $300 billion in investments by 2040 to switch to clean energy and build better infrastructure. The partnership could help the Philippines find funding to improve energy supply and speed up development. Country's financial system resources hit a record 32.8 trillion pesos in October. That's up 9% from last year. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas says this growth is driven by higher deposits, loans, income, and capital. This notable improvement is from the 30.1 trillion pesos recorded in the same period last year. The banking sector dominates the financial system, contributing 27.3 trillion. Digital banks, however, stole the spotlight with a massive 34.8% increase in resources, now totaling 113.8 billion pesos. As of October, the banking sector's total assets reached 26.4 trillion pesos, with liabilities at 23 trillion. This reflects a robust financial system that's growing stronger due to increased economic activity. It also highlights the rapid growth of digital banks, signaling a shift in how Filipinos are managing money in the digital age. The government officially nullifies hundreds of licenses for Philippine offshore gaming operators, or POGOs, effective immediately. PAGCOR Chairman and CEO Alejandro Tenco ordered the non-renewal of permits following President Marcos's directive to ban all POGOs by the end of the year. Out of 300 licensed operators, only 7 POGOs now hold active PAGCOR permits. Meanwhile, over 21,000 foreign workers affected by the ban have applied to downgrade their visas with the Immigration Bureau. This signals the government's strong push to end the controversial industry amid crime and legal issues. The ban is expected to impact government revenue, jobs, and real estate sector, especially in Metro Manila. Over 11,600 corporations may be suspended by the Securities and Exchange Commission due to failure to submit their annual reports. The revised corporation code mandates all corporations to submit annual reports, and under the Securities Regulation Code, the SEC has the power to suspend or revoke the registration of corporations that fail to comply with the reportorial requirements. Records of the SEC show that as of October 31st, 11,677 companies failed to submit their annual financial statements and general information sheets for 8 years, from 2015 to 2022. The SEC is calling on these corporations to avail of the Enhanced Compliance Incentive Plan to avoid having their certificates of incorporation suspended. In corporate news, construction giant EEI Corp has earmarked 3.8 billion pesos in capital expenditures for next year for its local and international expansion. The EEI board, chaired by Bilyonaryo banquero Lorenzo Vitan, has allocated 1.7 billion pesos for additional investments in its subsidiary EEI Power. Another 1 billion will go to EEI Ventures, its investment arm, to explore new business opportunities. The company has set aside 600 million for EEI Construction and Marine, which specializes in building and repairing vertical cylindrical roof storage tanks, among others. EEI will also invest 550 million pesos in its British Virgin Islands-based EEI Limited, which focuses on labor supply, project management, and international joint ventures. Finally, over 110,000 travelers are expected in the country during the holiday season. This according to the Bureau of Immigration. Immigration Commissioner Joel Anthony Villado said Christmas weekend arrivals last year averaged more than 53,000 daily, while departures were around 43,000. He expects the numbers to further increase this year and even exceed pre-pandemic numbers. The BI is now implementing measures to ensure smooth airport operations. These include denying leave applications for frontline officers during the peak season to maintain full deployment. The agency is also reinforcing its manpower for efficient passenger processing. And that is it for today's edition of Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on top.